He conspired and attempted to assassinate one of his strongest rivals, his own son. Humayun, the heir to a legendary empire, emerged into history as a monarch shrouded in the mists of time. Born in the splendor of the Mughal dynasty, his life was woven with golden threads of power and adventure in the vast lands of India. This prince, gifted with a brooding gaze and an iron will, ascended the throne at a young age, facing storms of challenges and betrayals. His reign was a pilgrimage across scorching deserts and rugged mountains, an odyssey that challenged his determination and loyalty to his legacy. Humayun was a man whose soul yearned for greatness, but also a sensitive and thoughtful spirit. His eyes gazed at the gardens of Kabul and the palaces of Delhi with a deep connection to the beauty that surrounded him. He was a lover of poetry and culture, a seeker of knowledge in a world full of unknowns. However, Humayun's life was marked by exile, loss, and the constant struggle to keep the Mughal legacy alive. His unwavering spirit drove him across scorching deserts and treacherous mountains, pursuing his dream of restoring the glory of his empire. Every defeat, every sacrifice, only fueled his determination. Welcome to the diary of history. Humayun, as the eldest son of Babur, the founder of the Mughal dynasty in India, inherited the Mughal throne after his father's death in 1530. However, his succession to the throne was far from smooth, as he had to fight against the ambitions of several relatives and pretenders to the throne. In the year 1532, the life of Humayun, the second Mughal emperor, was at a crossroads. His newly established empire was facing both internal and external challenges. It was in this context that he decided to besiege the fortress of Khanjar, a fortification that had been seized by rebel Rajputs, challenging the authority of the Mughal Empire. The Siege of Khanjar was a significant episode in the life of Humayun and in the history of the Mughal Empire. The fortress, located in the present-day state of Uttar Pradesh in India, was strategically located and tenaciously defended by the Rajputs. The siege was a risky undertaking, but Humayun was determined to quell resistance and assert his authority over the region. During the siege, tensions rose as the situation became increasingly desperate for Khanjar's defenders. Finally, after months of siege, the rebels requested a surrender agreement. Humayun, in his desire to consolidate his control over the fortress, accepted the ransom offered by the Rajputs to lift the siege. However, what happened next marked this episode in history with a somber and controversial tone. Despite having agreed to lift the siege in exchange for ransom, Humayun ordered a massacre to be carried out. All prisoners captured during the assault, including those who had relied on the promise of safety upon surrender, were killed. This decision was shocking and cruel, and sheds light on Humayun's complex personality and circumstances at the time. Politics and military strategy in medieval India often involved brutal maneuvering and ruthless tactics. Empires, such as the Mughal, faced constant challenges from rebellions and local resistance, and decision-making was often influenced by the need to maintain control and power. The massacre of the prisoners at Khanjar has been the subject of debate and controversy over the years. Some argue that Humayun acted brutally in an attempt to send a clear message to those who opposed him, while others suggest that he may have been influenced by military advisors or motivated by the need to exercise his authority forcefully. However, the year 1535 marked another crucial chapter in the life of Humayun, the second Mughal emperor, when he decided to launch an attack on the city of Chittor, which was then under the control of King Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. Chittor, a strategic city located in the present-day state of Rajasthan in India, had been a stronghold of Rajput power for centuries. King Bahadur Shah of Gujarat had taken control of the city, posing a potential threat to Humayun's Mughal empire. The latter saw the need to expand his authority and, at the same time, secure his empire from the incursions of regional rulers, such as Bahadur Shah. The siege and subsequent capture of Chittor in 1535 were bloody and decisive events. Humayun, accompanied by his army, surrounded the city and began a siege that lasted several months. Finally, after a long and intense battle, Humayun's forces succeeded in taking Chittor. The Mughal victory was costly in terms of human lives and resources. The city suffered considerable destruction during the siege, and much bloodshed was reported in the conflict. However, what adds an additional element of controversy to this event is the action Humayun took after taking the city. According to some historical records, Humayun is said to have ordered the demolition of several Hindu temples in Chittor and the construction of mosques in their place. This move was seen as an attempt to impose Islamic cultural and religious influence on a city of Hindu tradition. The demolition of temples and construction of mosques in Chittor reflected the complex religious and political dynamics of the time. In the context of medieval India, coexistence and conflict between different religions and cultures were common, and rulers often sought to assert their authority through religious and architectural symbols. Despite his apparent victory, one of the most significant challenges Humayun faced was the rivalry with his brother Kamran Mirza, who wished to rule part of the empire. This sibling rivalry led to internal conflicts and weakened Humayun's position on the throne. In addition to internal problems, he also had to deal with external threats. Sher Shah Suri, a brave military leader, emerged as his main rival. Sher Shah Suri managed to defeat Humayun in several battles and finally drove him out of Mughal territory in 1540. Humayun's rise to power was followed by a prolonged period of exile and banishment. During these difficult years, he sought refuge in various places, including Persia, where he established alliances with local leaders. The rivalry between Humayun and Sher Shah Suri became an epic conflict that would determine the fate of the Mughal Empire in India. Sher Shah Suri, a brave military leader of Afghan descent, rose as a defiant figure who sought power. He succeeded in defeating Humayun in two decisive battles, the Battle of Chausa in 1539 and the Battle of Khanjar in 1540. The defeat at the Battle of Khanjar was especially devastating for Humayun, as it resulted in the loss of his empire and his subsequent banishment. Following his defeat, Humayun fled for refuge and was forced to leave India. His flight took him to Persia, where he sought the help of Shah Tahmasp. Seeking refuge in Persia marked an important chapter in Humayun's life. Shah Tahmasp, ruler of the Safavid dynasty in Persia, agreed to provide refuge for Humayun, but this came with significant conditions. One of the most notable requirements was that Humayun convert to Shi'ism, the predominant branch of Islam in Persia, rather than the Sunnism he practiced in India. This religious conversion was an important political act, as it established a religious alliance between Humayun and the Shah. In addition to his religious conversion, Shah Tahmasp also required Humayun to participate in military campaigns to expand Safavid influence in the region. This included fighting against Sunni leaders in Afghanistan, which marked an ironic turn in the life of Humayun, who had previously fought against Sher Shah Suri and his followers, also Sunnis. Humayun's participation in military campaigns in Persia and Afghanistan on behalf of Shah Tahmasp was a challenging period in his exile. Although he managed to regain the support of a powerful ally, his life in Persia was marked by uncertainty and the complex political and religious dynamics of the region. Finally, after several years of exile, Humayun had the opportunity to return to India with the help of Shah Tahmasp and a Persian army. In 1555, he returned to his homeland and succeeded in regaining the Mughal throne, marking a triumphant return despite the challenges and obstacles he had faced along the way. During his exile in Persia, Humayun lived under the protection and patronage of Tahmasp. The Persian court provided Humayun with refuge, resources and military support, which eventually enabled him to return to India and regain the Mughal throne in 1555. The relationship between Humayun and Tahmasp was ultimately a pragmatic alliance based on mutual interests. For Tahmasp, supporting Humayun represented an opportunity to weaken the Afghan rulers who threatened Persia's western frontier and expand Safavid influence in the region. For Humayun, the alliance with Persia provided an opportunity to return to India and regain his empire. The year 1555 marked Humayun's triumphant return to the Mughal throne, an event that ended his period of exile in Persia and allowed him to regain control over his empire. However, Humayun's return to power was not without challenges and consequences, and his reign after his return was marked by decisions and policies that reflected the circumstances of the time and the need to consolidate his authority. When Humayun returned to India with the help of the Persians and his brother Hindal, he found an empire that had undergone significant changes since his departure. During his exile, different dynasties and local leaders had ruled parts of the Mughal territory, resulting in fragmentation and disorder in the empire. As a result, Humayun faced the challenge of restoring order and imperial authority in a context of chaos. One of the first measures Humayun took upon regaining the throne was to deal with those nobles and governors who had collaborated with Sher Shah Suri or his son Islam Shah during his exile. In an attempt to consolidate his authority and eliminate possible internal threats, he ordered the execution of several of these nobles and officials who had been considered traitors or disloyal to the Mughal Empire. This policy of repression reflected Humayun's need to establish his authority and send a clear message that loyalty to the Mughal Empire was unwavering. In addition to the executions, Humayun also imposed heavy taxes and confiscations in the provinces that had rebelled or resisted during his absence. These measures were carried out with the purpose of financing the restoration and consolidation of his government's operations. However, these tax impositions and confiscations also generated resentment among the population and local rulers, often resulting in a climate of discontent and unrest. Despite these seemingly harsh measures, Humayun also displayed traits of mercy and generosity towards others. For example, he pardoned some of his defeated enemies and showed a willingness to reconcile in certain cases. He also sought the support and loyalty of the Mughal nobility to stabilize his government and promote the well-being of his empire. Humayun's reign after his return to the throne was relatively short, as he passed away in 1556. His legacy endured in his son, Akbar the Great, who would continue to expand and consolidate the Mughal Empire and establish a more inclusive and tolerant administration. It is true that Humayun took severe measures on certain occasions during his reign. For instance, he ordered the execution of several nobles and governors who had collaborated with Sher Shah Suri or his son Islam Shah during his absence. This repression may appear cruel, but it should be understood in the context of the time, where government stability often depended on decisive actions to suppress potential internal threats. In addition to the executions, Humayun also imposed heavy taxes and confiscations in the provinces that had rebelled or resisted during his exile. However, he was not exclusively a repressive ruler. He also demonstrated traits of mercy and generosity towards others. Moreover, he worked to earn the loyalty of the Mughal nobility and promoted policies of inclusion and tolerance in his government. The complexity of Humayun's figure lies in the circumstances of his time. During his reign, medieval India was a place of power struggles, religious conflicts, and constant challenges. Leaders in that context often had to take drastic measures to secure their authority and maintain stability in a diverse and fractured empire. The death of Humayun, the second Mughal emperor of India, is a significant episode in the history of the Mughal dynasty and medieval India. Although his reign was marked by numerous challenges and difficulties, his death occurred unexpectedly and left a profound impact on the trajectory of his empire. Humayun passed away on January 24, 1556, in Delhi, at the age of 47. The exact cause of his death has been a subject of debate among historians, but it is believed that the incident occurred in his personal library while he was on his way to pray. The most commonly accepted version of Humayun's death maintains that he was climbing or descending a steep staircase to perform the midday prayer. At that moment, his hourglass, a device used to measure the time for prayer, either broke or slipped from his hand. In an attempt to retrieve it, Humayun lost his balance and fell from the staircase, suffering severe head injuries. It is said that the emperor was quickly brought to his bed, but the injuries were too severe to be effectively treated with the medicine of the time. News of his fall and injuries spread rapidly through the city, and doctors and counselors were summoned to attend to him. As the news of the seriousness of the situation spread, there was great concern among the Mughal nobility and the general population. Humayun was considered a beloved and respected leader by many, and his death raised questions about the stability and future of the Mughal Empire. Despite the efforts of doctors and counselors, Humayun's condition worsened, and he fell into a state of unconsciousness. Finally, on the night of January 24, 1556, Humayun passed away, marking the end of his reign. Humayun's death left a power vacuum in the Mughal Empire, and his son Akbar, who was only 13 years old at the time, was proclaimed emperor under the regency of a council of nobles. The transition of power was relatively smooth, but Humayun's death raised concerns about the stability and cohesion of the empire. Humayun's legacy endured in his son Akbar, who would become one of the most successful rulers of the Mughal dynasty. Akbar continued the policies of religious tolerance and efficient administration that his father had promoted during his brief reign. Humayun's tomb is an iconic monument located in Delhi, India, known for its architectural beauty and historical significance. This tomb is a testament to the grandeur of Mughal architecture and serves as a lasting reminder of the second Mughal emperor. The construction of Humayun's tomb began in 1565, nearly 10 years after Humayun's death. It was commissioned by his chief wife, Bega Begum, also known as Haji Begum, as a tribute to her late husband. The architectural design of the tomb was overseen by the Persian architect Mirak Mirza Ghiyas, and its construction was completed in 1572. The monument is an outstanding example of Mughal architecture, blending Persian and Indian elements in its design. Humayun's tomb stands amidst lush gardens, and its main structure is built from white marble and red sandstone, giving it a majestic and elegant appearance. The building is characterized by its tall central dome and symmetrical architecture, resembling a fortified palace complex. One of the most notable aspects of Humayun's tomb is its innovative use of garden architecture, which would become a distinctive feature of future Mughal mausoleums, such as the Taj Mahal. The surrounding gardens are designed in geometric patterns and feature water channels, fountains, and carefully maintained green areas. This design creates a serene and peaceful environment that invites reflection and contemplation. Humayun's tomb is considered one of the early significant examples of Mughal architecture and has influenced the construction of other notable monuments in India, such as the Taj Mahal. Its meticulous design and aesthetic beauty have made it a site of historical and cultural importance, and it was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1993. Today, Humayun's tomb remains a popular tourist destination and a place of historical reverence. Visitors from around the world are impressed by its majestic architecture, lush gardens, and historical significance.